the main argument that people make to say that the Gospels are not trustworthy, for instance, Bart Ehrman, he would say the Gospels were written by the Christians who were in power, meaning the Christian leaders, they were the ones who approved these documents. And so if anything was written that they didn't like, they could have destroyed the evidence, and then only the narrative that they wanted pushed could be written. So here's why I don't buy that. For one thing, in the first century, you would never make up a crucifixion story if it weren't true. Only violent criminals were crucified in the first century. And so if a Christian walked around saying, oh yeah, my Messiah was crucified, that would make no sense to first century people. And that would actually make them less inclined to believe than more inclined. Same with the Garden of Gethsemane. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus is reported saying, Lord, if it can be so, please take this cup from me, talking about the wrath that he's about to endure from God. When the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus is so vital to our faith, why in the world would Jesus be asking not to go through it? That would just confuse and confound potential converts. Same with Jesus' words on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why would that be reported as being said unless it were true? That's just a theological conundrum. It's just so hard to grasp. It's like, this is the Son of God. Why would they be claiming that? It would be hard for new converts to accept unless it's because he actually said it. And so they cared far more about truth than about potentially increasing their power. They constantly report on things that would have hindered Christian growth, not supported it. Last example on that, the embarrassment of the disciples, and specifically Peter. If someone has embarrassed themselves and they report it, it's more likely to be true, because why would they make it up? All of the disciples are depicted as somewhat slow. They're jealous, they're cowardly, they're slow learners, and the only reason that they would report this is if it's true. Same with Peter. Peter denies Jesus 3 times. In Mark 8, he says, you are the Christ. And then the next section, Jesus says, but I'm going to die. And Peter rebukes him. And Jesus calls him Satan. He says, get behind me, Satan. They would not have reported that unless it were true. These are the kind of things that would be omitted if a ruling power, the Christian leadership, felt it was more important to get converts than it was to talk about truth. But that's the exact opposite of what we see. Saving face was not as important to them as reporting truth.